So Tycoon has a lengthy history of adding broken vehicles on release. Therefore, in today's video, guys, I'd like to go over some of the most impactful vehicles in Tycoon's history, which were added, which were absolutely brutalizing the meta for an extremely long time. So anyway, let's just jump right into it. So firstly, I'm going to be starting off with the Patriot, and the reason why this is only at the number 9 spot is because the Patriot, in all honesty, is not as bad as anything else that's going to be higher on this list. However, of course, on release, this came as a 16-air lock-on missile vehicle, which would be able to destroy absolutely everything in the air, and the worst part about it is that it costed 0 parts, meaning that you were able to spam this thing over and over and over again, and nobody could deal with you because it just constantly kept spamming this thing and killing all vehicles in the air. It was so annoying to deal with this thing, and the only reason that it's actually semi-playable against it now is because they added a part cost for it. Thank God that the Patriot isn't as OP as what it used to be. Now next up, we're gonna be moving into the B-2 bomber, and I know so many of you ground mains have infinite levels of PTSD of seeing this thing. This vehicle was a single definition of a base destroyer. If you sent a B-2 to a base, it would be literally collecting over 12 kills every single time, and just some types of base wars going on. And this was the only vehicle in the game back then that was able to actually pierce bunkers. It was like a completely new mechanic, and everybody was going crazy over it. And not only that, but was it also extremely proficient at destroying ships and tanks. Like, this thing was an absolute beast, and it's just nowhere near the level that it used to be, which, to be honest, I have slowly started to understand why they nerfed this thing so badly. But then once again, it did give it a buff, except now it's no longer as OP as what it used to be, because bunker busting isn't anything too special, and the ground meta is kinda dead. Now in the number 7 spot, I will be placing the Abrams X, and here's the thing with the Abrams X. Right now, it is probably on one of the most balanced states that it's ever been in, since it's not really the best tank in the game anymore. However, on release, this thing was released with the M1 Abrams, which, as we know, is not that good of a vehicle. And the vehicles that the Abrams X was competing with back then was the Sherman, the normal T-72, the Leopard, and the M1 Abrams. Meanwhile, it had the best cannon in the game, it had a explosive machine gun, and keep in mind, this was the only tank in the game back then that actually had the ability to do this. It had good speed, good health, and the Javelin, which literally lets you see through walls and do insane damage without even seeing your opponent. On release, this thing was absolutely broken, and I believe it needed to get nerfed a few times. I know so many people also have PTSD from this. And you know what's funny? The only way that they were able to balance out the Abrams X over time is by just adding our tanks that actually match its strength. If we go back a few years, then the Abrams X would still be dominating the meta until now. Now, something that's slightly more overpowered on release was the original F-35. Oh my god, the one that had 6 multi-row missiles, 4 bombs, and insane turning speed, being able to tank shells, veto. Like, this thing literally just had everything, and it was above every other plane. And funny enough, when the F-35 was actually released, once again it had to deal with some pretty mediocre planes such as the Mustang, the MiG-29, F-14, and then I believe we had the Harrier and the F-4 Phantom that it had to deal with. Those planes were not good compared to the F-35, and back then this was the pure definition of pay to win. Now moving into the number 5 spot, we have the Seahawk, and I think you guys all know why I have to place it on today's list. It has to go at least pretty high, but I know you guys have so much PTSD dealing with this thing. On release, this basically was like a killer from behind. It kind of just destroyed you without you even knowing about it. It snuck up on you, it shot you with 3 missiles, and the fight was over. It also had F-22 turning speed, so good luck dogfighting this thing too. It was able to destroy tanks within like all of its missiles, and so it just had everything going for it. And the only real issue of the Seahawk that we had before was that it had stealth, so that was like its only saving grace, because if it didn't have flares, it obviously meant that the Seahawk wasn't able to defend itself at some point, so you could actually take it down with missiles, or if you're skilled enough, by being a good dogfighter. But either way, back then the Seahawk was another type of monster, and the only reason that it's balanced right now, in my opinion, is because it cost you 12 parts, the exact same amount as the F-35B. Now in the number 4 spot, I will be placing the HACV Overlord. And oh my god, when I used this thing on release, I was easily able to 5v1 with no issues. This thing was the only vehicle in the game that had flak. It had some insane levels of health. For a literal hovercraft, it was literally able to deal with everything on the ground, and the worst part about it is that it killed tanks in under 2 seconds. Like, I believe it used to do over 150 damage per shot with some insane levels of fire rate. That back then was absolutely broken, and every time I joined a lobby with the Overlord, I had like 100 to 0 kill lobbies because I was just killing everybody. I have not died once because of how broken this vehicle was back then. Holy crap, I'm so glad that it got unnerfed. Now moving into the number 3 spot, when the submarines were first ever introduced. Of course, I cannot make this list without putting the LA class in there. Holy crap, whenever this thing was released, it had absolutely no counters, no ways to deal with it, nothing special they could really use against it, except for the J36 and the Raphael, which were also bugs, by the way. That wasn't even intended as far as I know. But the Los Angeles class was literally able to smite people across the whole map and just stay completely stealthy without people knowing where you are. So you're essentially dominating without people not being able to pinpoint your location. Like, I've seen some nerds try their best to pinpoint the location by coordinates or whatever whenever they got killed, but either way they were still not able to do that just because the submarine was able to move around so easily. It's just, you had to deal with something that could kill you in one shot as a plane player, and you were not able to literally do anything about it. Like, the only vehicles which were doing semi-well in that meta were tanks, because the tanks didn't take as much damage from submarines. I feel so bad for the plane players back then. Now moving into the number 2 spot, and that's going to be the USS Zumwalt on release. Keep in mind, the vehicles that the Zumwalt was competing with back then were a Thermal, PGO-2, PR-206 and the USS Douglas, and then you add this monster in the game for 2,500 Robux. This was a whole another level of insanity when it came to power. Whenever anyone bought this thing, they were simply able to destroy every single server and any fight was not close, because they added something that's like 5 times stronger than an ordinary ship. Like, it is just insane how this thing was able to smite people from far away, out DPS every vehicle in the game, and there was basically no reasonable counter for it back then, except for being able to board the person's ship. But if you weren't good at doing that, then you were basically dead, and there was nothing that you could possibly do. And the worst part about the Zumwalt out of all is that back then, ships did not take parts, which meant you could constantly spam the Zumwalt, which was the most overpowered vehicle in the game, for free. So, if you're low on health, oh good, just spawn this thing over and over again. Holy crap, that was so busted. Now lastly, moving into the number 1 spot, and the only people that will be able to understand this placement are going to be the OGs from Oil Warfare Tycoon. The Mi-24 Hind on release was a whole another level of monster. This thing was able to shred everything in literally 1 second, and the worst part about it is that its gun can shoot for like ages, so even if you miss, it's okay. All you gotta do is hit one good lead and then the vehicle is dead right away. It is just unbelievable how broken this thing used to be compared to other helicopters. I believe back then there were helicopters that could like counter it or fight it to an extent, which were like the Little Bird. And as we know, the Little Bird, comparing it to the Hind, it's like the Hind is almost like 5 Little Birds at once if we're talking about overall power. You guys get what I mean. And all of you Oil Warfare Tycoon players, if you're still watching this video, do let me know in the comment section down below and truly tell people how much of a pain this vehicle was to deal with on release. But anyway, for the time being, that's basically all I have for you all in today's video. Do let me know in the comment section down below what in your opinion is the most broken vehicle of War Chicken's history before the nerfs. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and do let me know what other videos I could do.